In the 365th year of my life, in the first month, on a day set apart by silence, I was alone in my house, mourning the corruption of the earth. Tears fell from my eyes, and sorrow groaned within my soul. The deeds of men had darkened the land. Their thoughts were bent toward violence, and the sons of Cain ruled by strength and sorcery. As I lay upon my bed, sleep fell over me like a shadow sent from heaven. In the stillness, two figures stood beside me, shaped like men, yet not born of dust. Their faces shone like the noon sun. Their eyes were like burning lamps of sapphire, and from their mouths came fire the wind could not extinguish. Their garments glimmered like the wings of eagles, woven of flame and feather, and their arms stretched out like golden branches from the tree of life. They called me by name, twice spoken, as from the deep, Enoch, Enoch. And I was awakened by the weight of that calling. Then the one who stood at my right hand said, "Be not afraid, Son of Man. The eternal God has heard your cries. The time has come. This day you shall ascend into the heavens." And I remembered the words of my fathers and trembled. I spoke to my sons and left a blessing upon my house. But the men, whose feet touched not the ground, summoned me again. They lifted me upon their wings, and the breath of the Most High carried us upward. The clouds parted like scrolls being unsealed, and the firmament yielded to their command. We rose through the air, and then higher still. I saw the winds and the paths of the stars. I beheld the watchers of the weather and the spirits of the high places. The world below faded like smoke, and silence reigned above the firmament. Then they set me in the first heaven, a place veiled in radiance. And I saw the order of the celestial host, and the light which does not burn. There, my eyes were opened to mysteries hidden from mankind. The beginning of wisdom is this: to fear the Holy One, and to behold what he reveals only to the chosen. In the days when men multiplied upon the earth, daughters were born to them, radiant and fair, adorned with the beauty of mortal flesh. Their hair shimmered like rivers under the sun, and their eyes carried the allure of the deep. And the children of heaven beheld their beauty, and their gaze did not turn away. Then the watchers, appointed to watch over mankind from the heights, looked upon the daughters of men, and desire stirred within their hearts. They said to one another, "Come, let us descend and take wives from among them, and beget children as the sons of men do." But their leader, whose name was Semjaza, answered them, saying, "I fear you will shrink from this act, and I alone will carry the weight of this great sin." But the watchers, being of one desire, spoke in unity. "Let us all swear an oath, and bind ourselves by a curse, that none may turn back from this plan." So they swore together, binding themselves with curses, calling upon the name that must not be spoken in vain. And the heavens trembled at their boldness. In the days of Jared, son of Mahalalel, they descended, 200 in number. They descended upon Mount Hermon, whose summit pierced the clouds and reached toward the stars. They called the mountain by name, Hermon, for there they had sworn and bound themselves with a forbidden covenant, and the stones of Hermon remembered that oath. The winds carried their vow across the wilderness, and the earth recoiled in silence. For the watchers had crossed the boundary set by the Most High. They had forsaken their stations in the heavens, and taken for themselves flesh that was not theirs. Thus began the fall, not with thunder or war, but with longing, with an oath, and with defiant will. And the sons of heaven became sons of rebellion. After the watchers descended upon Mount Hermon and took wives from among mortals, they corrupted their divine essence and joined themselves to the daughters of men. The sons of heaven lay with the daughters of earth, and from this union came beings of unnatural form, towering in stature and terrifying in appearance. These were the Nephilim, giants of old, whose height reached 3,000 cubits. Their bones split the ground, and their voices rumbled through the valleys. They were not of the earth nor of the heavens, but an abomination born between. The watchers revealed to their wives secrets long forbidden to mortals. They taught enchantments, sorcery, the art of root-cutting, and the incantations whispered by unseen spirits. They passed down knowledge of healing herbs and revealed how to draw power from stones and metals. And thus the daughters of men bore forbidden wisdom alongside forbidden children. But the Nephilim, growing ever more ravenous, devoured the labor of mankind. And when the earth could no longer sustain them, they turned against man, against beast, and against the birds of heaven. They drank the blood of every living thing and devoured flesh without respect for the laws of creation. They sinned against the birds and the beasts, against creeping things and the fish of the sea. In their madness, they turned upon one another, devouring their own kind in wild, burning fury. And the earth, wounded by their lawlessness, cried out with a voice of sorrow. The rivers groaned beneath the weight of blood. The trees recoiled from their breath. The heavens withheld their light, for the earth was drenched in blood and defilement. Thus began the age of the giants, and with it, the unraveling of the sacred harmony between heaven and earth. In those days, the earth groaned under the burden of mankind's sin. For the children of men were oppressed, and their blood ran like rivers into the dust. The giants, born of heaven and earth, consumed all that man had built and drank the blood of the innocent. The order of creation was undone. The trees bore no fruit, the beasts of the field trembled, and the stars looked down in silence. The winds carried cries of anguish, and even the ancient mountains shuddered in dread. For the Nephilim, filled with unsatisfied hunger, had turned their wrath not only upon mankind, but upon all that breathed and moved under heaven. They defiled the birds of the air and hunted the beasts of the field. They consumed fish from the waters and drank from rivers stained with blood. No boundary was sacred, and no living creature was spared. And the world became a place of despair. And the souls of the slain, numberless and without rest, rose in mourning. From the caverns of Sheol and from the depths of the grave, they lifted their voices together. A single, unrelenting cry rose from countless mouths, anguished and full of sorrow. O Holy One, Lord of glory, how long shall injustice reign? Shall the earth be given over to violence forever? Shall those who devour remain unpunished? Their cries rose like incense before heaven's veil, and the holy ones heard them. And there was no sound in the firmament, but mourning. Then the four great archangels turned their gaze toward the earth. Michael, who stands over the people of the covenant. Gabriel, guardian of paradise and wielder of flame. Raphael, the healer of the earth. And Uriel, the light of God's knowledge. And they looked down from their thrones of flame and beheld what had become of the world below. They saw the rivers choked with blood, the cities burned by chaos, and the cries of orphans echoing through valleys where once peace had dwelled. They saw the face of the earth distorted, its beauty marred by lawlessness, its breath heavy with corruption. The spirits of the righteous wept, for even the laughter of children had fallen silent. The harmony that once bound heaven and earth had unraveled, and the holy ones were moved, not with wrath alone, but with grief deeper than oceans. For the creation of the Most High had been wounded by the very ones sworn to protect it. The watchers who descended had shattered the barrier that once protected the sacred. What was hidden was revealed. What was forbidden was embraced. Then the four archangels gathered as one before the throne of the Ancient of Days. A light like fire encircled them. The floor beneath them was of crystal, the space above thundered with glory. And though their tongues were many, their words came forth as one. O Lord of Lords, King of Kings, Eternal One, your eyes see all things, and nothing is hidden from you. Behold the earth you have made. It has become a tomb of blood and ash. The fallen have defiled your name. The souls of the slain do not rest. Their cries pierce the veil. The time has come. The balance is broken. The earth is no longer at peace. And there was silence in heaven for the span of a breath. The flames of the throne burned motionless, unwavering in their intensity. The seraphim ceased their song. The scroll of judgment was lifted from the altar, unopened yet heavy with decree. And the voice of the Most High moved through the halls of fire. Judgment had been summoned. The heavens leaned in. The breath of God moved through the silence, and the hour of reckoning approached. There was silence in heaven, until the scroll was opened, and the voice of the Most High pierced the flames like thunder. And the voice of the Most High thundered from within the throne of glory, and the fires around him did not destroy, but burned with perfect and holy light. Silence fell across the heavens. The seraphim veiled their faces, and the thrones ceased their praise. Judgment had been awakened. Then the Holy One, he who knows all before it comes to pass, spoke to the archangel Uriel, saying, "Go to the son of Lamech, to Noah, and tell him in my name, hide thyself. For behold, a great deluge shall come upon the earth, and all flesh shall be destroyed wherein is the breath of life. But thou and thy seed shall be preserved, for in thee I have found righteousness." And unto Raphael he said, "Take Azazel, the corrupter of men, and bind him hand and foot. Cast him into the desolation of Dudael. Open a pit in the wilderness, and cast him into it. Lay over him jagged stones, and cover his face in darkness, that he may never see light. On the day of great judgment, cast him into the fire, for to him belongs all sin." And to Gabriel the Lord spoke, "Go against the bastards and the reprobates, against the children of fornication. Drive them into war against each other, so they may perish by their own hand. Let their days be short, and may no prayer for them be heard, for they were not born of heaven nor of earth, but from the curse." Finally to Michael he gave command, "Bind Semjaza and all his companions who defiled themselves with women. When they have seen the death of their sons, bind them beneath the mountains of the earth until the day of their judgment comes. Let them witness the end of all they have wrought, and let righteousness once more take root upon the earth." And I, Enoch, stood in awe, for I beheld the scrolls opened, and the words written before they came to pass. I saw the angels depart with swiftness, their faces set like stone, bearing the wrath and mercy of the Holy One. The earth had not yet trembled, but the hour of reckoning had been set in motion. And it came to pass, after the judgment was spoken and the decree sealed, that I, Enoch, was commanded to descend once more to the earth, to the place where the fallen watchers had gathered in secret, between the mountains of Lebanon and the valley of Senazar, waiting in solemn silence, their faces veiled with sorrow, their countenances darkened by dread. When they saw me approach, a trembling seized them. They arose many at once, and fell to their knees. Once radiant in splendor, they now stood as trembling shadows, mute, hollowed by fear. And they cried out together, "Enoch, scribe of righteousness, beloved of the Most High, intercede for us, speak on our behalf, for we have sinned and are ashamed, yet we seek mercy from the Holy One. Write for us a petition, that our case may be heard in heaven." Their cries were steeped in grief. The earth groaned beneath their sorrow, and the wind bore their lament through the valleys. And I, though burdened in spirit, took their plea. I wrote their words upon a scroll of lamentation and ascended with it through the veils of heaven. I crossed the firmament, passed through realms of fire and cloud, and stood once more before the radiant majesty. But the answer came not as a gentle whisper, nor in glimmers of hope. A voice like burning thunder filled the halls of eternity. "Tell the watchers of the heavens who have descended and defiled themselves with the daughters of men, their petition shall be denied. They shall be bound to the earth forevermore. Their eyes shall not behold heaven again. Their sons shall perish, and their cries shall not be heard. They shall have no peace. And I returned, my heart heavy with fire. The path back to the watchers was veiled in silence, and even the stars withheld their light. When I stood once more before them, they lifted their eyes in hope. But I could not lift mine. The scroll was sealed, the words were final. Then I spoke, carried by the breath of the Holy One. You shall have no peace. Judgment has gone forth against you. Your plea shall not be heard for all eternity. You shall witness the destruction of your sons. You shall be bound until the end of days. You, who once watched from the heights, shall now be watched in chains of silence. And they wept with a sound the earth has never forgotten. And it came to pass that I, Enoch, was lifted once more into the heights of heaven by flames that bore me like living hands. The winds obeyed the command of the holy ones, and the stars murmured in reverence as I passed through realms of silence and flame. Then I was brought to a place beyond mortal making, a palace of living crystal, whose walls flashed with the colors of the firmament. Columns like rolling thunder upheld its chambers, and rivers of lightning flowed like water across a floor of glass. The very air trembled with glory, and the atmosphere rang like the sound of many trumpets. I beheld the cherubim, creatures not of flesh nor time, who stood with wings interlocked, their eyes flaming with eternal watchfulness. Though unmoving, they turned in every direction at once. Fire encircled them, and from their midst arose the echoes of the names that are never spoken aloud. At the center stood the throne of the Ancient of Days, high and lifted up. It burned with pure flame, brighter than 10,000 suns, and from it issued rivers of living fire. The foundation of the throne was justice, the canopy above it was glory. Around it stood myriad hosts. Their voices fell silent, for no one dared to approach. No angel, no watcher, no spirit of the firmament could approach. For the light of the one who sat upon the throne was unbearable, and the majesty of his presence shook all creation. I could not lift my eyes for the brilliance that filled the court. Then a voice, quiet yet weightier than mountains, spoke directly into my spirit. And in a moment beyond time, I was shown the order of the heavens, the paths of the stars, the secrets of the winds, and the deep foundations of the earth. I beheld the storehouses of divine light, and the hidden chambers where thunder is born. I beheld the balance that binds the visible to the unseen. And I knew all things had been made by word and were held by will. Nothing moves without his decree. Nothing falls without being counted. And the angels took me to the far reaches of creation, to the farthest reaches of the deep, where no light pierced the darkness and no song echoed through the void. I beheld a vast abyss, blacker than night, whose depths could not be measured, and from which rose pillars of fire rising like mountains uprooted and cast into the sky. Lightning danced upon the winds, and the air hung heavy with a silence soaked in sorrow. There I saw the vaults of the winds, vast chambers etched into creation before the world began. From them issued the spirits that stirred the clouds, guided the rain, and drove the breath of the seas. Beyond these, I saw the gates of heaven, sealed with living flame and guarded by watchers whose faces blazed like suns. And near the edge of a burning mountain, I beheld the souls of the dead, held within hollow chambers hewn from stone, some resting in quiet brightness, others groaning in shadow and pain. One chamber was filled with peace, and there the righteous waited. Another seethed with unrest, where the souls of the unrighteous slain stirred in ceaseless anguish, their spirits restless until the hour of judgment. Then my eyes were turned to a tree unlike any other, a tree of haunting beauty and solemn memory. Its trunk glowed with ancient fire, and its fruit shimmered like stars. And one of the holy ones who stood beside me said, "This is the tree of wisdom, from which your forefather took and ate, and by which his eyes were opened. Because of it, man was cast from the garden, and death entered the world. And I fell upon my face, for I understood that knowledge taken without reverence leads to exile. I saw that this tree was not cursed, but guarded, for it shall be given again to the righteous in the day of restoration. Then the archangel Raphael drew near and spoke. These are the places of spirits. The earth holds them until the day appointed. The just shall be raised, and the wicked shall fall deeper still. For the judge sees all things, and no soul shall pass unseen before his gaze. And I wept, for I had seen the paths of the dead, and the root of man's fall, and the mercy that still waits beyond the fire. And the angels brought me to the world's edge, where the land touched flame, and even the winds stood still. And I beheld a vision. The mountains melted like wax before a holy flame, and the high hills were torn asunder. The ground beneath me groaned like a beast in mortal agony, and the very foundations of the earth cracked open. The seas roared without cause, as if time itself had broken, and the stars fell like figs shaken from a dying tree. The heavens darkened, and the breath of the world fell silent. I saw the earth stripped of its strength, trembling before the coming of the King of Glory. Then a voice spoke from the heights, saying, Behold, the days of reckoning are at hand. The era of shadows shall end, and the measure of all hearts shall be taken. Let the righteous stand in the light, for they shall be preserved. Let the humble be gathered, for they shall inherit peace. And I saw the righteous ones, those clothed in robes woven of obedience and faith, hidden in sanctuaries not made by hands. Over them the winds did not howl, and the fire did not touch them. They raised their eyes to heaven, and the light of a new dawn washed over them. But the wicked were consumed by the breath of judgment. Their strongholds crumbled. Their names were scattered like ash into the abyss, remembered no more. They who had mocked the Holy One were no more. And the heavens unrolled a scroll bound with 7 thunders, each one echoing through creation, and I knew that the end had begun, not as a thief in the night, but as a trumpet that none could silence. And I, Enoch, raised my voice and spoke to the chosen, those whose names were inscribed in the book of life before the world was formed. I blessed them in the name of the Eternal One, saying, Peace shall be upon you, O righteous, and your dwelling shall be with the light. You shall walk in truth, and sorrow shall not draw near your dwelling. For the time of mourning had ended, and the tears of the faithful had been seen by heaven. Their wounds shall be healed, their days extended, and their joy shall never be taken away. The sun shall not burn them, nor shall the shadows overcome them, for the glory of the Most High shall be their covering. Then I saw them, clothed in white garments, standing upon a new earth. The land was cultivated in righteousness, and the trees bore fruit without labor. Rivers of gladness flowed from hidden springs, and every creature sang in harmony. The heavens poured forth blessing, and there was no more fear. And I, Enoch, was taken, and no eye beheld where I had gone. I was not found among men, for the Lord took me. And the earth remained quiet in my absence, but the memory of the words was not lost. For a day is coming when the righteous shall rise like the morning star, and peace shall cover the earth as waters cover the deep. And the blessing shall not fade, for it is sealed by the one who lives forever.